This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Do you ever feel like life is a never-ending series of lessons while you try to find purpose, meaning, and answers? I am Vanessa Fontana, the host of Figuring Shit Out, a podcast where we undertake self-help, coming of age, and healing. As I live my 20s in New York City figuring shit out myself, I've realized that if you spend your whole life trying to get your act together, you don't have a life. You have an act. On Figuring Shit Out, every Sunday, you get to normalize the journey of not knowing and be guided into living your life with more intention and ease.
It's appropriate that we begin with some of our young people.
Testing.
Are we
Testing.
y'all
check.
millennial or Gen Z? What is it?
Little more
I'm
volume.
Gen Z. I'm Gen Z.
Testing.
What y'all? Millennial. You're a little older than me. Okay. Engaging the next generation through culture, building pathways between the black press and the next generation through education. Lord knows if our papers are going to have to continue to grow, they're going to continue to grow. We got to bring this next generation. There's nothing more disconcerting than a church where the membership is passing away and there's no new membership coming in. This is our church. Amen. So, to lead this panel, we want to welcome Chelsea Lenora White, the Forward Times business manager. Give her a round of applause. Jarren Small, who is the CEO of Educational Entertainment and Reading with a Rapper. Give him a round of applause. And also, if you would, applaud the whole Reading with a Rapper team. They're going to be up here joining us. So if you all will come up and take your seats, we'll get started. Thank you.
Let me take you on a ride. Good morning, don't be scared they on the block.
You know, I heard y'all having church next door, and I wasn't able to attend, but I
happy whenever we get
so I hope everybody got their blessings.
All right, let's give our last panel another round of applause, if you would,
I
please.
appreciate that. I wasn't
Very
expecting
important conversation.
that it happened. So good morning, everyone.
Amen.
My name is Jordan Lee Harris, and I'm the president of Education
Are
and
we
Entertainment.
in a state of emergency? We
At
weren't
Education and
before we
Entertainment,
got
our
here.
mission
We
is
know
to
we all
simply
are now
educate,
because affirmative action
entertain, and
has
evolve.
now been ruled.
It all started with the foundation that we started
More
back in 2013 called
later,
Legends
and
Who
I know many of
Live,
you are-
our
I saw
nonprofit
everybody
that
go on their
focuses
phones and begin
on
to send
funding and
messages
equipping
back home
disadvantaged
for
youth
their publications to
through
get on
community
top of that. I have
programming.
some other
And
information I'll
with
share
that, we
with you
came up
probably during
with
the
several
luncheon that we've
different
learned since the
programs,
ruling.
including
We want to
Senior
continue our
Fest,
conversation. You just
Teacher
met
Appreciation Weekend,
our brother,
and something we're going to talk to you today
Jarren,
called Reading
in the
with a
last
Rapper.
panel with Reading with a Rapper.
At
Reading with a Rapper is something else, isn't it?
We created
need
to
that.
relate ELA academics with socially conscious
And also,
lyrics, video
we all know
content,
our
and
president and
technology.
CEO. This
So in a
will
nutshell,
be
we teach and
this
strengthen
portion of our
literacy
conversation.
through
This is a
those things,
fireside
through,
chat
socially
with
conscious
Dr.
rap
Chavis
lyrics,
and
video,
Jarren Small.
content and
The topic
technology.
being Black
And through the
Press
platform,
State
we've
of
been able to
Emergency.
touch
The
over
state of
300,000
emergency response
students
through
since
hip-hop,
2018,
education,
just with our
and
literacy
literacy. Let's give
program
Dr.
alone,
Chavis
different initiatives
and Brother Jarren a round of
that we
applause. Please,
built
Dr. Chavis.
with the program. 300,000 students, over 300,000 students.
Welcome, man.
How you doing?
So listen, let's get right into it. Now, let's,
And
for the
that's in
audience,
Houston, Atlanta,
this is
LA,
unrehearsed.
North Carolina, and
It's
soon to come
authentic.
New York and Chicago.
Neither of us
well,
have
this is no cities
prepared
alone
any
that I
prior
named. We've never
questions.
touched that many
when we
students. So we've been
decided to do
blessed
this
to be
fireside
able
chat, say,
to
look, man,
really
let's just do
impact
it from
our
the heart.
communities and different communities.
Let's do it from the history.
Starting
But I
and
just
based in
wanna say
Houston.
that
So
the
we're
last
happy to
panel,
be here
I
in
think we should
Nashville, presenting
applaud
to you
the last
guys.
panel again.
And yeah, we
It's
have
such
some great things coming up.
innovative.
Thank you.
You know,
These
I
two
move
gentlemen
around
on the screen,
the nation
on the
a
left,
lot,
you see
and
Jarren Small. On
one
the
of the
right, you
myths
see Douglas Johnson. These are the two
in
gentlemen
America
that met at Prairie
is that
View
black
A&M University.
people, particularly black youth, are not interested
I
in
didn't go to
learning.
PV, but I've grown
So
to have a real
you
love
have
and appreciation
all
for my
these
PV
programs
people because
designed,
PV produces
basically,
what do y'all
to create a pipeline.
exactly
to the failure of the
I
school
believe that
system
that's cool
to the prison system.
But these guys are going to tell you a
in
little
New
bit about their
York
story
and
when
in
they
New
come up a little
Jersey,
later. But
They
that's
used the
them
failure
on
of
the screen, our
third-grade reading
founders.
tests
Yep.
to
These are
determine
just some
how
people
many
that we've
juvenile
worked with
prisons
over
are
the
gonna be
years, including some of the bigger
So,
names like
this whole
NCAA
thing
Final
about
Four,
literacy,
Men's Final Four,
I
excuse me,
think, rapping
Apple, Nike, Jordan, Beats by Dre. We currently have a really strong partnership with the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs in Houston, where they amplify and help really build our initiatives. And so we gained that partnership early this year, and we're up for renewal. So that's a blessing because we're going to continue to impact the city that we started, which is Houston, Texas, H-Town for, you know,
so I'm saying it right now.
Okay.
I know we're being live streamed.
At Reading with the Rapper, we work with real ELA specialists that put together the curriculum for us. And on the screen here, you see Ms. Gant. Ms. Gant was the real originator of our curriculum. Without her, we would not have Reading with the Rapper. And so going forward in this presentation, Ms. Gant is going to come up and go through some Reading with the Rapper games with you guys. So let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Gant.
We're getting ready to prepare for our bicentennial in 2027. If we could take 2023 over the next 4 or 5 years.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Hello, everybody. Hello. So I am Miss Gant. I have been teaching for 10 years. I teach in Houston, Texas. I used to teach ELA, which is English, Language Arts, and Reading. But now I teach a class called Teen Leadership, so it just gives me so many avenues to reach our students. The Reading with the Rapper curriculum is essential, not only because I created it, but also because it's changing the face of education. Kids are falling in love with reading and writing, and that's all we really wanted to do. So today, you guys are going to put on your student hats. You guys are going to be my students. And we are going to walk through a little piece of our curriculum. Our students love figurative language. How many of you guys remember what figurative language is? Anybody remember? Oh, I got one. Do I have two? Do I have two? I have two. Amen. Okay, so
absolutely. So
I'm going to give you guys a little brief lesson about figurative language, and then I'm going to go through one of our favorite activities called our Figurative Language Challenge. I am going to need participation. I am going to need teacher pets. So I need you guys to also make sure you are paying attention so you can answer some of these questions, okay? Everybody with me? Yes. Okay. Our Figurative Language Challenge. Let's go over the different types of figurative language you guys need to know in order to be active participants. Assembly. Assembly is when you use the words like or as to compare two things. For example, last night I slept like a baby, which I did. That reception was a good time, y'all. I feel like I was knocked out. Okay, metaphor. Simply states a comparison without using the words
September
like or
8th,
as.
which is
For
International
example,
Literacy Day, we will
life
be
is
actually
a
doing
roller
the
coaster.
first
It has
actual
ups and
charity
downs,
concert in Houston,
but we all make it out.
where 100% of the proceeds will be going towards literacy
Reinforcing a
grants across
concept
the
through
country.
repeating the same thing over and over again to get somebody to understand something. For example, I'm hungry.
Then from
I'm
there,
hungry.
from
If I'm
October
saying it
to May,
all
we'll be
day,
doing the Reading
over and
Rapper
over,
Literacy
I want
Grants.
y'all to
And then at the
understand.
end of
Feed
May,
me
we'll be
before my
having our own
attitude changes.
festival
It's
for
going to be a problem.
graduating high school seniors called Senior
Hyperbole.
Fest.
That's
So
when
it's
you
like our version of
exaggerate
South by
something. Like,
Southwest.
I'm so
And then we're gonna
hungry,
have a
I could
teacher
eat a
conference
horse.
for all the teachers
Are
around
you
the
going to
country
eat
in
an entire
Houston.
horse?
So I know that we
I
talked
hope
about
not,
you
but
guys
you're just
being a
really, really
direct
hungry.
voice
And then
and
last,
being
we
our
have
official media
personification.
partner for
That's
that
when
to
you give
amplify
a
across the country,
human-like
because by way,
something
if we're the
to
only
something
ones
that's not
telling the
human.
story,
For example,
everybody has to
the
come to
lightning
us.
danced across the
We'll
sky.
be there on
Lightning
September
can't
8th,
dance.
and
Y'all need to
NNPA
get
will
down.
be your
I feel like I'm
media
not with y'all.
And I'm going to help build up to it.
Lightning can't
'Cause, you know,
dance,
the
so
value
it's giving a human trait to something that's not
streaming, the
human.
value
Oh,
of,
cameraman, can I be down here?
Doing stuff in
I can be
digital
down here?
spaces, how it's promoted.
Making sure.
Right.
Okay,
That's
so
how it's
now we're going to
marketed.
play the challenge.
So
So
we
make
have to
sure you guys
prepare
pay attention
minds, not only
because
in
you're going
Houston,
to have to
but
find
the event be
this,
live streamed, can people
the
around
figurative
country
language in the
get into it?
songs.
And the
Are
reason
y'all
why
ready?
we're keeping it in Houston because,
My
again,
favorite
Houston's the only
DJ,
city that
DJ
has an adult
Yobes, he's
literacy
going to be
program
playing a little
that the
music.
White House
Pay
is actually looking
attention.
at
We're
right
finding
now.
the
So the
figurative
goal
language
is to
and the
replicate
rap
what we do
lyrics.
in Houston
Everybody with
across
me?
the country.
We're
So we
ready?
don't want to just be in Houston.
Well,
Okay,
how do
here we
you
go.
think- how did that
First
happen in
song,
Houston? It's not
Jay-Z,
happening in other
Song
cities.
Cry.
We
We're
have other cities that
looking
have
for
black
the
mayors.
personification.
So
Does
it's not
anybody
just the
remember
fact
what
that you have a black mayor.
personification is?
We need to.
Anybody
we need to
remember?
figure out
Who wants to say? Yeah,
why our
in the
other
back.
cities
Say it
don't
real
have
loud so I
adult
can hear you.
literacy programs
It's true.
that are tied within the curriculum of the public school system.
Teacher's pet,
I will
already.
say that
You're
I know
my
that we
favorite.
have a lot of cities that have black mayors.
You're my
but
favorite. You're
mayor
my
turning in
favorite. All right,
Houston,
here we go. So we're
you
looking
don't
for the
see too many mayors
personification.
intentionally
Here's the song.
trying
Pay
to
attention.
really like change and really be disruptive and really be. They're just doing what they need to do to get. You know, not saying that every mayor is doing that because there's a certain protocol you have to be within, but he's just done some really just unconventional things that long term have gonna be really successful for the city. after he leaves. So he just actually wanted to do it too. So I think it's about just being actually intentional about it. Sure.
And you have the results. I think, having receipts, having data, having proof. We live in a world.
All right.
I want to say to our publishers.
Saw a little personification. Anybody, don't be nervous. There is a wrong answer, but don't be nervous.
Right now who asked me, Reverend Chavis, tell me all the
song is crying. Can a song literally cry? Yes, a song cannot literally cry, but Jay-Z, he was super emotional. He was probably thinking about me when he was writing this song. So the song is crying. Okay, next.
Because they also know people in the
DJ Khaled featuring T-Pain and Ludacris. All I do is win. We're looking for the repetition. Anybody remember what repetition is? What is repetition?
How do you keep people engaged?
Repeating the same thing over and over and over again. It's just the point. I love this class. Okay, good. Okay, here we go.
Also for advertising dollars.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody has no up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say there. Cause all I do is win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them play that.
All right, who has my repetition? Who?
Take care of their health.
It's a little baby jaw. Cameraman, you don't have to follow me. I'm coming way back here. It's okay.
It was in 2000 and 2001. Quite frankly,
when it says win.
If I could just tell you a story.
No matter what.
To the hip-hop Summit Action Network. It goes back to what Mark said earlier. We had
But you got to win. Amen. Period. All
right,
you give him a hand clap, y'all? Okay, next. Our next song, Kanye West featuring T-Pain, The Good Life. We're looking for the metaphor. Remember, metaphor is when you're comparing two things without using like or as.
And then, of course, we tragically lost.
Roll through good, y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. And she got the goods, and she got that. I got to look sorry. Yo, it's got to be, cause I'm seasoned. Haters give me them salty looks. Lawry's 50 told me don't hear, switch the style up. And if they hate, then let them hate and watch the money pile up. The good life, I go for mine, I got to shine.
Now throw your hands up in the sky.
Extract my brother.
Y'all can sing, it's okay.
Because it was the handwriting.
Okay, we're looking for the metaphor. Comparing two things without using like or as. Anybody see it? This one a little hard.
Not valuing
Anybody see it? Yes, ma'am. I really want to come back to you, but you're so far, my age.
I wear blue, I wear red, or wear some other kind of color. That's a dangerous situation.
Lawry's, yes. Good job. Clap it up. Comparing his looks to season salt.
Reading with a rapper because he started out as an artist. He was an actor.
All right, next, Jay-Z featuring Alicia Keys, Empire State of Mind. We're looking for the hyperbole, the exaggeration. This one, also a little difficult, so pay attention. Where is the exaggeration?
Get to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus. Driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. Me, I'm out that Bed-Stuy, home of that boy Biggie. Now I live on Billboard, and I brought my boys with me. Say what up to Tata, still sipping my top. Sitting courtside, Knicks and Nets give me high five. I be spiked out, I could trip a referee.
Sometimes pit us against
I wanted to sing the chorus.
So how have you been successful?
Okay. It's only a clip. Sorry, guys. Okay. We are looking for the hyperbole. Anybody see the hyperbole?
One of the also co-founders
I
of the
live
Summit.
The smartest person in the room. I live on Billboard. I bought my boys with me. It's exaggeration. He's not living on Billboard. Perfection.
So I've been involved with hip-hop
and
from the beginning.
Mace, I don't know if he's Puff Daddy today or P. Diddy, but Mace and Puff Daddy. Can't nobody hold me down. We're looking for the simile where you're comparing two things without using the words like, no, with using the words like or as.
I mean, to be very honest, let's just be honest. But the thing is,
now it's on the hot track, melt like it's hot wax. Put it out, all the stores, bet you can shop that. Leave a nigga with a hot hat, frontin' like bad boy ain't got tracks. Stop that. It's no guy slicker than this young fly mister. Nickel 9 liquor, floss you die quicker. This bedtime, out of town pie clipper. Turn Crystal to crooked eye sucker.
All right, this is kind of easy. Remember, you're looking for like or as. There's your cheat code. You're looking for like or as. Yes, what we got? What do we have?
That's the only focus.
Yes, now with Sean on the track. It's the melting like hot wax. Perfection. Thank you. Clap it up for her. So what you guys did today was a small piece of our 8-week curriculum. And of course, you guys can see the kids fall in love with learning this way because we're using rappers, we're using rap lyrics, we're using cool teachers, and they fall in love with learning. So that's the whole point of Reading with the Rapper. And I'm glad that I was your teacher today. You guys did great. If I had money, I would give everybody $1 million. Good job.
That you wouldn't amount to anything. So you can actually come back and they can say,
okay, what did y'all think about that?
You are actually somebody.
Cool, right?
And we give them identity.
So that's just a condensed version of what the students go through when they have Reading with the Rapper in their classroom. Reading with the Rapper was designed to be either in school or after school. A lot of schools opt to make it a in-school thing, basically taking over the creative writing classes. So when students go through this curriculum, they not only learn, but they're engaged and they have fun with it. They come out with their own final product, which we call their mixtape, where a lot of students end up expressing themselves, like really kind of telling their business sometimes, but they feel like it's a safe space where they can like really talk about the things that's going on in their lives and really express themselves through music. So that's a beautiful thing that ends up happening when a student goes through the Reading with the Rapper program. And so the reason why this is important is because of these wonderfully horrible stats that are on this page, right? 79% of U.S. adults are illiterate in 2023. That's a large percentage of adults. We're talking about the U.S. alone, not talking about the world, right? 21% of adults in the U.S. are illiterate in 2023. That's 21% of adults in the U.S. as a whole, right? So 79% of U.S. adults, on average, and then 21% are also illiterate. 54% of adults have a literacy rate below sixth grade level, So low levels of literacy cost the U.S. up to $2.2 trillion per year, basically meaning that if you're unable to read and write, that means that you can't really advance in life, right? You can't really get a job. You can't really like comprehend the things that are going on in your life, or like, you have to be able to read and write in order to function, right? And so that causes the U.S. debt threshold to be $31.4 trillion. So we believe literacy is the key to solving that. We focus on literacy in schools and not just your regular, like, come to school and read a book or write an essay. It's more so like, again, doing things in an engaging way and make you want to learn.
So it was really important for us to be like,
in life through literacy.
Do you want to be a part of what we're growing? If
Houston is the only city in the U.S. with a literacy program, with an adult literacy program. It's called the Mayor's Office for Adult Literacy, where they are focusing on helping our adults. Because
I don't want to know what we
basically
did, right? They tell us the same story.
A lot of adults fell through the cracks in school, right?
They show us
so now they're functioning at 18 plus, being illiterate.
Right, so he's
really
like, we didn't have a long-term plan, but I understand because
while
we didn't have time to do that because we're sacrificing
tackle our youth, we can't forget about our adults too.
So Doug and I, we took all of our 20s to sacrifice and say, you know what, it doesn't matter about us going out.
So in our program,
or
we've shown that there's been a 90% increase in attendance, a 90% increase in social emotional learning, and a 90% decrease in negative behavior when it comes to their behavior in school. And so when they go through this program, again, they're engaged, they have fun, they want to come to school, they want to behave, and they want to, continue learning. So some skills that they learn are sentence structure, identifying and analyzing mood and tone, public speaking, technological skills, figurative language, like what Jarren just went through, active listening, communication skills, and so forth and so on. And so, like I said, they come out of that class like really being able to express themselves in a different way. They want to continue to advance their literary skills because they want to be able to write about themselves and speak about themselves and speak and public speak in general. A lot of students that come out or go into it being very shy, not really wanting to speak, end up speaking in front of their peers, in front of us, people that they may not have even met, but they feel confident with it. And so to show you a recap of some of the schools that we did this year, Rob is going to play that video for me, right? Okay.
As you move around the country, are you seeing an openness to your approach of literacy in other major cities?
It was a beautiful thing where I could actually express myself and my family problems, what they've been going through.
Reading with the rapper really helps me because it has all my favorite things. Learning, music, and also figurative language.
It was a cool experience. It like helped me with my reading and whatnot, because like some people in the class didn't know what a metaphor and an onomatopoeia is, and in his songs it like showed you this is what a metaphor, an onomatopoeia, simile, like it gave you examples and you'll remember it, because like just how you remember songs, you can remember that. Like it was cool.
This class is more tight knit, so it's easier to incorporate music and fun with them, because they were like so on board. The second I talked about it, they were ready to go and super excited about the program.
Some things that we did in class were write about our friends, poems, songs, stories.
What are some things that you think?
And that made us feel better about the rapper, made us excited.
I feel about reading with the rapper really, that's one opportunity that not everybody gets in their life, basically, and one opportunity that I'll probably keep and cherish, and probably, if I make it in life, I'll probably end up saying this if I get a speech or something.
It's inspirational that some kids these days, they need to hear some, because they out here with violence and all gang stuff.
Buddy Rose music was really amazing, and it just flows really well. It speaks to me. It's very deep, and it's very hype at the same time.
Freedom of the classroom, and we got to make our own rules, and we couldn't break them because we made them.
Opened up my eyes to my students, as well as allowed the students to be a little more free and open and vulnerable in that space of literacy and being able to share what they didn't understand about certain aspects of figurative language, but being able to look at music and tie it all in together and say, oh, okay, now I get it.
I would like to see the program continue, because like they have some good they have some good songs, and thanks to them I'm now a fan, and then I could write things about them too. I actually wanted to be a writer when I grew up, a successful writer.
We still have these police departments.
And to clarify, these were students all the way from 3rd grade to 12th grade, so there's a variety of those students there. And so what we want to do now is continue this conversation with the rest of the Reading with the Rapper team, including our friend over at Forward Time, Chelsea Lenora White. So now I want to introduce Jarren Small, Douglas Johnson, and Chelsea Lenora White to the stage, please.
It's one thing for young people to go off and have a conference as young people. It's another thing for the elders to go off and have a conference as elders.
But what are we doing together?
We got to do something together. You know, I want to fight for freedom with my younger brothers and sisters.
Now, if we do something together,
comfortable. How y'all doing this morning? Was that not like a wake up, like an energizing moment, so inspiring? I feel like when that video ended, I was emotional because the youth is our future. And when we don't have them, we don't even have platforms. So I want to start off by introducing myself. I'm Chelsea Lenora White. I'm the business manager at the illustrious Houston Forward Times. So excited to be here. Initially, I linked up with Reading with the Rapper. I want to just kind of give you a little backstory as to how this ties into black media and how I hooked up with this amazing organization. So Jarren Small, who is the co-founder over here to my left, that is also my fiance.
Yeah, some of it's communication.
Come on, fiance. But we've known each other since we were teenagers, but we actually like linked back up and started dating in 2019. Reading with the Rapper had been around for just 1 year at that time, and I was like, oh my God, this is so incredible, and knew that we needed to find some synergy between us and them. But then once we started doing that at Forward Times, I was like, the entire network needs these resources. Because I, for one, know that we're stronger together. And when we all have these resources and are able to share them, everybody wins. So I was like, if we can get y'all here and tie this all in together, we're tapping into the next generation of contributors, of writers, of readers, right? So I want to turn it over to Douglas Johnson and Jarren Small, who are the co-founders, and ask y'all just how y'all found it, Reading with the Rapper, and your why.
Or in the Carolinas. You'd be surprised.
Hello.
The room would not be full of people. And so how do you pass? You know, it's like I ran track.
There we go.
Relay.
Man, that's a great question.
It's
First, I was at
not
Prairie View A&M during the summer working with kids that want to advance themselves.
The meaning of the baton.
And I was working with them.
And sometimes that thing,
one day, like, yo,
there may be a mispass. We may drop the baton before we adequately pass it off.
It's not fun, it's not relatable.
Something about having
and I was watching
a plan
of the Migos,
to regenerate. All of us should have a succession plan. Unfortunately,
but they
a lot of OGs take
in their own
stuff
rap
to the grave with
so
them. Never share.
I was like, wait.
So I'm trying to spend my last years making sure I spend time with people like you.
Structure, grammar, they don't even really know if they're
just sharing because I don't want to give you the trauma.
Doug is the one that keeps everybody sane in the company. I come with a big idea and he bring me down. He's like,
see what I'm saying?
Sounds great.
There's a certain joy.
That costs and where is that
going? That our movement needs to always exhibit. At the end of the day, what's our joy? Not just our pain.
It's kind of problematic.
It's how to overcome that pain.
It can work. And then
I remember I was in Tampa when T-Pain
came to me with the idea. We just kind
of we considered it for a while.
Name
T-Pain.
We try to figure out like how do we solve this? How do we actually make it into fruition? So we actually reached out to Jarren again.
No, seriously,
who went to school with us.
Because a lot of times if we focus
only
on what hurts us,
this 8-week curriculum. And it took us some time because it was so forward and we knew it was at the time.
It should never be.
Just for where the education space is. And
the
how
period
we
on our sense.
Kind of get this on the level.
It can be a comma, it can be a
semicolon.
It can't
program,
be a
so where administration could really understand.
When I see what you're doing with reading
time to kind of get it
with a rapper, gives me joy, brother.
Can really understand what it
is. It makes us know that all what we fought for all those years in the past was not in vain.
I don't know how far we can go with it.
Was not in vain.
I don't know what to say to that.
But in the program itself, they actually
when I came to the
through that album,
conference
through all the different
in Puerto Rico,
marks that they kind of hit a little
my
bit. My
mind was just blown because I'm like, this is a true, real resource. I'm like, this is the Black Press,
and they're learning.
It didn't really click to me. I'm like, wait,
that was one of the biggest things because once you're able to gain some confidence, you're learning
in America.
Once you say,
and they're looking for somebody or looking for a group of people to kind of keep this going. Instead of us saying like, oh, they don't care about us, they really do. But I think sometimes the youth has to also say, you know what, we need to do a better job of just asking the right questions, being patient, listening and gathering the right information from me so we can take it on, and not being so thinking we know everything because we don't. And I guess listening to my question or even the audience, do you believe in time travel?
Real quick, could
you absolutely.
share with them
Okay, what is your concept on time travel? I have a concept, but you want to know what
well, listen, first of all, the whole concept of time, I hope you know that's an African concept.
Absolutely.
It's not a European concept. You know, European is a pointillia. That means, and I'm trying to cast anything on Europeans, but that's part of their culture. They're interested in what's happening at a certain point. From an African perspective, we see what's happening over a period of time. Time is not linear. Time is 360. Time is expansive. And so that's why we are expanding. And that's why the Black Press is still alive today. You know, because we have to take sometimes limited resources, but having that zeal, having that drive, having that fortitude, having that responsibility to the community. When we say we're the trusted voice of the Black community, trust is something that's earned. It's not, you can't buy trust. You can't really sell trust. You can relate to it. And that's why it's such valuable, invaluable
for the future of the black press is to continue to be the trusted voice of the black community.
Some things that I really appreciate about this organization is the
innovation. Tell me what's your definition of time
travel? Okay, so
that innovation
this is how I think
piece
about
is something
time
we all can take
when
a page
I
out
speak
of
to
that
someone
book because you
at
have
your
to
nature,
meet
right?
kids
I'm
where
really
they
getting
are,
information
right?
from the past I could never
Another
get.
thing I know that Jarren shared that they signed Buddy Rowe.
Now, if I go talk to that kid, I know you guys might have
their
grandkids,
licensing. This is crazy to me because
even if
in
you ask them a
addition
question,
to
like, man,
media,
I never thought about that because
I
their
am
mind
a
is
musician and an
so
artist as well. I'm a
to the
recording
other place.
artist, right?
You're literally talking to the
And
future
if you know
in real
anything
time.
about the recording business,
And
you
so
know
for
that
us,
we're
we're in the
getting
present of
paid
where
not
we can
even
create
pennies,
from the left and the right. So I see like the youth as this medium of like we're the hybrids of like, okay, I have a certain time period right now. Let me gather information from you, but also let me gather information from the youth to where we can create a reading with a rapper. That's why it's so different and so innovative because all we did was just simply ask us what do we need to be successful.
You know, one of the things that we're all focusing on now in our community is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Something from the science world, something called Catalyst.
Upwards of 5 figures in a couple months.
Rapping.
And when they did the research and the data from his streaming,
that's a
he didn't even do that in a couple years, and he's been doing really well with his streaming, right?
But you
so
accelerate
this is
an
entirely new concept, which I think is incredible. I want to ask Jeremy the next question
opportunities that would not be there if it wasn't for
did
you.
an amazing job.
And that's why I think we should all invest in reading with a rapper.
I love that word.
You know, yeah. Well, that's
an educator.
Listen, all good ideas have to have good financial. There are a whole lot of great ideas, but they don't take off because they have financial undergirding, financial investment.
What was your experience
and
as an educator?
All the publishers will tell you they're business people. You got to keep a business going. You got to keep a business alive. And so we have to find a way how to generate revenue that supports the great ideas that we have, the great programs and opportunities.
I've always had my
but you got to have that revenue.
In mind. So
I see Mark, we
I
over
was
time?
given a curriculum and I knew that my students weren't going to connect with it, they weren't going to learn from it, they can keep
so
that. Like, I'm
yesterday,
going to do what I know is
when we were at
best
the
for my
museum
students.
for the
I know how my
reception
students
kickoff.
learn, I know what they want to see, I know
our
what's
entire
going to be
family and our
productive for
team from
them.
Reading Rapper, we were just so blown away because all the
with them in
history that we
mind.
were seeing
So
in there.
when
And I just thought it was so
Jen and
crazy
we became
where
friends at Prairie View, I
at a
used to
certain point in
always
time, it was literally
go out
against the
to
law
Chili's
for
and
us
I
to
would
read and write.
Just complain,
HBCUs, especially
because
Prairie View, sits on
I
the biggest slave
was
plantation in
tired of
Texas,
seeing
the
my
Kirby
students not happy with
plantation.
learning. Not
And how
happy
we
at school.
use music to kind of
And I would watch
like
other
give
teachers
information.
struggling because
And I feel like we're at this very same point again now where they're trying to take certain things away from critical race theory and trying to take that same power away from us. Now we're fighting the same thing, but in a more innovative way. So one, thank you and thank the entire organization for allowing us to even be here to see this and witness this and even meet y'all because it's so important. And we want to be a part of the change. And we just really appreciate you and the entire organization. For this opportunity because this is going to be the start of something for the next 20, 30, 50 years.
Well, we thank you. It's mutual, brother. All right. God bless.
Jarren Small. Dr. Benjamin
Chavis.
What a fruitful conversation.
Really
we know as an African people,
while we're all here with our publications.
And elders must dialogue.
And I want to ask a few of you, what are some areas, some trouble areas or some opportunities for growth rather within your publication? If you could just raise your hand and let me know some things that you would like to see changed or just some opportunities for growth.
So that's good.
Anybody?
Let's give them a round of applause for getting that done. Everybody all over the world is watching. Don't forget, please share it.
Hi, Dana.
And especially on your social media, Black Press USA, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. We're going to make a quick transition and bring our next presenter up. This is about ad revenue. I know ain't nobody going nowhere now.
Especially because
well, y'all
we talk
good.
about
Y'all don't
meeting
need it. Y'all good.
the
Y'all
youth
need
where
no
they are. They're
everybody
always
good?
on social
Got
media.
all the ad
so
revenue?
That's definitely
you good?
valid. Anybody
okay.
else? Okay, well, on the next slide, I kind of came up with, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bobby.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. That's why also the reason I wanted them to be here, and I was so grateful that Jarren and Doug were able to bring, you know, a large portion of their team, is because I want them to be, what I see is I want them to be a resource to everybody. I want them to be a resource to this entire network because, again, I think that, I'm going to go to the next slide and see, we're here. These are some issues that we're having, and I also agree with Bobby and Dana. Those are definitely some areas of growth for us as well. Reader retention, bandwidth and staffing, solidifying the digital presence. Those are all things that I feel like all of us could certainly utilize to beef up our presence and our brands. In that, I realized that education is the answer. And I know it sounds like a general thing, but for instance, you know we have the Chevrolet DTU interns right now, right? And if they stopped by a few publications recently. So our interns stopped by last week. We had 3 incredibly brilliant students from Howard University, from Morehouse University, or Morehouse College rather. And usually I feel like when they get there, when they come with us, the issue is that there is not a plan in place for them, not only for them to grow, but for us to get something out of it. So this time I was like, you know what? We have an opportunity to tap into these brilliant young minds directly. Let me really put something together to feed them and for us to try to, you know, get something out of it. So in addition to them having assignments, right, with writing articles, covering things, engaging with the community, experiencing, you know, Houston life and culture, I had them comprise a business plan for a podcast studio that we've been working on. And I had already had my plans, but I wanted to see what they wanted to see. I wanted to see where their minds were. I wanted to see kind of what they would come up with. And when I tell y'all that business plan was so brilliant that, like, people need to pay for it, like, I'm saying that these kids and the youth are willing to do it, but it's like if they come by your publication and you don't give them anything, you know, for them to sink their teeth into, to challenge them, to push them, no one wins, right? So I truly feel like education is the answer, which is why linking with organizations like Reading with the Rapper, where y'all directly meet, you know, these kids where they are, is so important. So I want to talk a little bit about the fact that literacy is a human issue. And I want to ask this next question to Doug. How do you feel like Reading with the Rapper serves as a solution to the literacy crisis?
We serve as a solution simply, as you said, that we meet them where they are. So it's about using the things that they enjoy doing, pop culture, our culture, using those things that they like, social media, using culture, using music, so that they feel invited and they feel welcome. And not only that, but not only with the curriculum, but we also change our classrooms. So we remodel classrooms as well as teachers' lounges to create a more conducive environment for the student to engage them in the learning so that they feel welcomed and invited, so that they can actually grow in their education and they feel like, okay, this is something, I'm getting something out of this. And I think that's the biggest piece.
That's huge that you talked about the environment as well, because I've been in their demonstrations and the lighting and everything is completely different and the kids are receiving things differently. So that means that would you say that even in our offices and physical spaces, if we are still operating, I know a lot of people are remote still, but in our offices and spaces, we want to make sure that environment is considered as well.
Oh, 100%. And it's really in any space, environment is everything. The space that you're in and how that makes you feel, to whatever it is that you're doing at that moment, whether it's, you know, working, studying, learning, engaging with somebody else. That environment is I would say probably more than half of how you're going to receive and use that information in the future or however you need to use it.
Absolutely. This next question I have is for Jarren. I know you've been a bit more involved on the Black press side, right? How do you feel like Reading with the Rapper and literacy as a whole, how do you feel like that ties into the Black press in terms of serving as a solution?
I mean, essentially, if I can't read and write, I can't read the paper. I can't contribute to the paper. I can't give ideas. I can't do a survey. I can't really do anything. And then you look about how do I start to acquire more younger writers or younger talent for the paper. If they can't comprehend, they can't give you great content. They can't go interview people for you. So it becomes a huge crutch because the next generation is not able to just have basic understanding of just what's going on. And so if we can flip that script and get a student to learn how to read and write, then you can give them an actual program that teaches them how to come back and work in your ecosystem. So it's about getting to them quicker and faster because of technology. They're more advanced than the kids 10 years ago. You don't have to wait till they're in college. They know what they want to do in the 8th grade. So if they want to be like the young girl in the video, she was in elementary school, I want to be a writer. I'm going to feed her stuff right now so I can watch her from 3rd grade all the way to 12th, and she could be contributing papers to you now. These kids, when they're doing their writing programs, we print their writing sources in the paper. So it gives them a real sense of, I'm a now published author. You know, but that small thing engages the parent too. So if we have 10,000 kids, by default, I have 20,000 parents. So just like that, I have 30,000 people looking at one thing because of the intention of where we put the information at. So it's just redirecting and just being a lot more intentional.
I also feel like piggybacking off of Ms. Gantz's demonstration, when these kids are tapping into figurative language and they're writing these pieces, those skills are helping them to write more thoughtful and innovative pieces as well. Which brings me to my next point about education being sort of an untapped market. When we look at who we're, I guess, sourcing and recruiting for talent, a lot of times I feel like we don't look into the schools.
Right.
And so we comprise just a couple of points as to, we comprised a couple of points as to how the Black press benefits when we tap into education. Number one, we build a younger demographic of readers and contributors. Number two, we increase revenue models. We diversify our audience and we widen our circulation, which leads to more advertising dollars. Because when we have a wider audience and when we boast a wider readership, we're in a better vantage point. Number three, we create relatable and engaging content. This is huge. I'm very passionate about this because, for one, representation matters. I'm not going to read something that is not only relatable to me, but it's not interesting to me. So I feel like that comes from a wide scope. For me personally, I'm not saying that I only want to read from young writers, right? But I feel like there needs to be representation in the writing rooms in order to reflect who your audience is. If you want your audience to be the next generation, of thinkers, then maybe just having, a middle-aged man writing all the time is not going to relate to them, or an older young lady, or whatever the case may be, and vice versa for the older audience, right? Because maybe those things that you're recruiting younger writers and younger talent, it's missing them. Maybe that doesn't relate to them. So I just feel like with all of us, we boast such a rich legacy and tenured presence in our communities. I just say widen it up. I don't say do away with, with our writers and who we already have. I just say make that writing room more reflective of who you're talking to. You know what I mean? Not one thing. Number four, connect with the youth to speak their language, because if we don't, then we become obsolete. And that's the truth. The youth is the future. We wanted to also give everybody something to take away from this, because I feel like it's easy to talk about the idea, but then it's like, okay, what do we do with that, right? How do we tap into education? How do we do these things? So Jarren and I actually came up with these action items to take to the market, and the team helped us to really hone in on it. Number one, identify the school campuses around your business. I know for us, like obviously TSU, but also Jarren brought to my attention Prairie View. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I went to Prairie View, I was a comm major. We actually have a writing program in our communication school, but we also produce our own paper, which is called The Panther. The Panther originally stopped a couple of years ago because of just kids not really wanting to be engaged in it, so it completely just stopped. But last 2 months ago, I was talking to the communication professor. She was like, yo, a group of students wants to bring the paper back, but they don't know where to start at. So I'm like, this is a great opportunity for a publication to step in, to train them, to help them to learn how to create that paper. Then when they graduate, they're working right back in loop. So you're teaching them already what you kind of want them to do for you, but you're also helping the school. That might be, we'll print the paper for you. So now you become almost like a bigger overhead for the university. Now that's your client, and they're paying for your service. Now you're consulting for a university to produce a paper and helping the kids. So everyone's really winning in that same form of fashion. And that's the thing that can happen in high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools as well. You can ask principals to contribute their thoughts, right? Teachers, a teacher column. Well, how do you feel as teachers? So once you give a teacher column, she can tell you they're coming and they're going to read, because no one's talking to teachers. They're the most underserved group in the world, honestly, when you think about it. So once you give them that type of empowerment, they'll come in droves.
That's huge. And obviously, we don't have a shortage of schools in our communities. There's enough for everybody. You know, even if there are multiple publications in a city, like, these kids need the resources and we need the resources, so let's share them. Number 2, create meaningful youth-based content for your publication. Once you've identified those school campuses and you know that you want to target them and you want to target those readers, the students, the admin, you have to have something for them. And I know for the example, we put like word puzzles, interactive games, but I feel like even what you're talking about when it comes to art, when it comes to culture, even when it comes to health, beauty, all those things, really tapping in and creating some type of content that is engaging to them matters. And we all, you know, we're a resource. You could ask us, you know, we all know youth, and we can tap in with them and ask what they like to see. I think asking them that is important as well. Number 3, select one campus to target and distribute the publication per semester. We started with one campus just so that we're able to sort of beta phase it out and see what you get out of it. We call it a two-way distribution, to where once we tap in with that school and we ask them, hey, can we house the paper in your teacher's lounge, or can we house it in the cafeteria, create a distribution center within that school campus. We also are talking to the school and asking them what kind of content they can provide, right? So not just, I don't want to say advertising and then it directly correlates to monetization, but you have to give a little to get something back. You know what I mean? So when it comes to whatever it is that they would like to sort of amp up, whether it be their school plays, sports games, we talked about publishing those student essays and art. Op-ed columns for teachers is huge because, for instance, like Miss Gant is a writer as well. And so when she writes and she taps into those op-ed columns, other teachers are reading and they're seeing themselves in her writing, which is important. Number 4, we talked about providing a survey to the students and admin at the campus that we select to identify where their interests lie and like what they would like to see within the publication. This is something I'm working on, and I want to provide almost like a sample survey to get out to all of y'all. I don't know the easiest way to distribute it, but I'll figure it out after this conference. I'm going to do a survey to where you could literally send it to wherever your market is and it'll apply regardless, just so that you're able to gather that data and know how to move forward and how to pivot your brand. Number 5, create a QR code on the front of the print publication to direct readers to the digital platform. I know a lot of us are already doing this. Forward Times is definitely doing this, but I think making it a focal point to constantly be drawing those print readers back into your digital audience is huge, because a lot of times some of those readers encounter your publication print-wise first. Some of the times it's digital, but obviously we want to get them to that digital space because that's where our future readers are. You know, we don't sadly see them picking up papers a lot, but I still do know that they're important. So that's kind of what we had to kind of get everybody started. I did have a question for Jeremy or Ms. Gant, before we open up the floor for questions and answers. I know that you created the Reading with the Rapper curriculum, which is incredible. I wanted to know, number 1, how difficult it was to do that, and number 2, how often you have to update that curriculum, if any.
So I created the curriculum with my partner in education crime. Her name is Gabrielle Gardner, and it was easy for us because we love teaching. We love students, we love education, so it was like second nature for us. Once we knew what we wanted to do, it just all flowed because we love what we do. We love teaching. And we update the curriculum based on the artist. So if we get a new artist or if we have some new ideas that pop into our head, we update the curriculum. So that all is based on just our minds, our brains.
And my last question to you is, do you think that the Black press could benefit from developing some type of curriculum for onboarding student interns or future talent?
Oh, for sure.
And what would that look like?
Because students are already used to learning on a program, like learning with the curriculum. So if they were given a curriculum from a publication, they already know what to do, and they already know what they're expected to do. So that's the whole reason why we have a curriculum, so they know what they're expected to produce. So giving them expectations, you get what you want.
Got you.
Yes, Jarren would like to add something.
Yes.
Which is important, two things with the distribution part. When you go to a school, right, because you all have respected competitors in your markets that are not black-owned publications, right? Once you go to that school district or that university or that school district, there's no competitors. You're the only one. So you kind of can break rules and recreate them and do some new things because there's nobody challenging you in that space at all. So now you can really thrive. And then when you go back to your partners, when it comes to those ad revenues or those different things, you can say my demographic is widened. I have a specific niche group at a time that no one can get to them but me. So now you're really valuable to that Google or whoever the case might be from that sense.
North Star, I really want to develop a curriculum for NNPA with them. Like, I've been talking to them about that. I think that there needs to be some type of tangible, curriculum just for us to get the most out of talent, as well as for them to get the most out of the experience. A lot of times, this is the last thing I'm going to say, a lot of times, the first time that they encounter the black press or even media is when they come to work within our publications. So we want to make sure that they're being challenged and that they're being introduced to the black press in, the most productive and beneficial way. We don't want to leave, obviously a bad taste in their mouth, so we want to make sure that they're getting something. So North Star, that's what I'm trying to do. But we thank you all so much. Yes. We wanted to open it up for Q&A. That's what I was going to say next.
Real brief question, folks. Hands up in hands. Okay, it's the first one I saw. Well, I'm right here, brother. Let me do this real quick. Quick question, please.
Jody Giles, Defender Network. Just for the curriculum basis, what were your keys to success and your biggest challenges? And then from Jarren and Doug, just in terms of the launch and growth of Reading a Rapper program, if you can also talk about some of your big success stories or what made the company what it is today, and also what your biggest challenges were.
I would say the main key to success was that video you saw. Just having students fall in love with reading and writing and saying, I love this, I want to be in school, I want to learn. That was the biggest success. Oh, some of the pitfalls with starting the curriculum. Not to say, there weren't any pitfalls. Like I said, we love teaching. So it was easy for us to create the curriculum, and it was easy for us to know what we needed in order to get it done for the kids to enjoy learning. I would think probably the biggest pitfall may be finding teachers that could teach the curriculum, because you have to be a certain type of teacher in order to teach it. I can't make you me. So you have to have a certain personality, a certain swag in order to teach in order to teach the curriculum. So that might have been the hardest pitfall.
Yeah. And I'd say to your other question, some of the biggest challenges from us, I would say probably one of the biggest challenges was just wrapping administration, superintendents, and districts' head around the curriculum itself and just trying to get that negative connotation of rap. Because we're using that very thing that they say, like, puts people in jail and things of that nature, but we're using that very same thing to educate them and push them forward. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges that we had.
Some of the successes. So when George Floyd was murdered, a lot of companies made a lot of promises. Nike made a promise, and Nike chose us for that promise in Houston. So we were really blessed to really have an accelerant from a company like that. But they also, because of the space that we were in, they were like, we don't know how to navigate this, so we're going to trust you. So from there, they gave us complete control over what we were doing, and we're just going to support you from there. From there, once you get one brand at that level to say yes, they kind of just all trickle in. So within 1 year, Nike, YouTube, Google, Beats by Dre, NCAA in one whole fiscal year. Overwhelmingly, we're in a bandwidth issue at this point where we're growing. An accelerant, we have 14 on staff. We're in 6 states. We'll probably be in 11 by the end of the year. So we're looking to actively now have our own LMS platform to where we can scale and grow. So I think it's just the biggest part of the success was just getting to the brands to get them to understand, because that's another revenue model for us as well, too. So the schools pay us, the brands pay us because they want to be in front of the kids. So we're really doing a reciprocal of energy of private, public, and community.
Real quick.
So over here. Larry Lee, Sacramento Observer newspaper. So
tell us a little bit about, and you started to talk about it just now, about kind of the growth plan and revenue of how you're growing. Because my question is really, how do we get this to replicate in our other cities?
Sure. So normally when we come in, we're at a point now, because originally Jordan talked about AT&T, it's a social enterprise. So we have the resources to come in and give a grant to a particular campus, right? So we come to Sacramento, that's where you're based at, right? Say we find one school, we made that a flagship school there. We give them a grant to see how that looks for a semester or for a school year, right? But then that whole school year period, when we get done, we've already done procurement and we're vendors. So by the time they get done, we're doing now business with the entire district. So that one investment might come from, I don't want to give you the number, but that one investment goes from that number to a very sustainable number over time that we can always just regurgitate, because you're going to always have 12th graders, 11th graders. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Then from the scalability part with the platform, the technology, we're going to be able to kind of pretty much at will, because the program's going to be automated. So now if you had your own NNPA, had their own curriculum through a platform, it's automated to where anytime somebody wants it, here's the link, it's already done, fill it out, and they're just paying for it at this point.
Good morning, Neil Anderson with the LA Sentinel. This year marks the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And so can you talk to us about how incorporating hip hop in our content this year can maybe help amplify the message, even when you look at record labels, tapping into those dollar resources? You know, a lot of times we're afraid to talk about hippity hop, some people say, but it's really a part of our culture and Black culture. So can you speak to that to the publishers about how important and significant that could be if we talk about it?
I know we actually went over time, but the next actual conversation, Fireside Chat with Dr. Chavis, I'll actually be talking about that with him and with some cool announcements and some surprises. So give me like a couple more minutes and we can get to that.
Let's give our panel a round of applause if we could.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding. You can do better than that. Give him a bigger round of applause if you could. And y'all know what? If hip hop is 50, then no, really, our music is in the middle-aged generation. Amen? You know, all of us, when we went through that museum yesterday, right, we saw ourselves in every aspect of it, even in the hip-hop section. So we've got to bring this together. Thank you all very much. This is urgent. Thank you so much.
Do you ever feel like life is a never-ending series of lessons while you try to find purpose, meaning, and answers? I am Vanessa Fontana, the host of Figuring Shit Out, a podcast where we undertake self-help, coming of age, and healing. As I live my 20s in New York City figuring shit out myself, I've realized that if you spend your whole life trying to get your act together, you don't have a life. You have an act. On Figuring Shit Out, every Sunday, you get to normalize the journey of not knowing and be guided into living your life with more intention and ease.
Are we in a state of emergency? If we weren't before we got here, we know we all are now, because affirmative action has now been ruled unconstitutional. More on that later, and I know many of you I saw everybody go on their phones and begin to send messages back home for their publications to get on top of that. I have some other information I'll share with you probably during the luncheon that we've learned since the ruling. But we want to continue our conversation. You just met our brother Jarren in the last panel with Reading with a Rapper. Reading with a Rapper is something else, isn't it? We need that. And also, we all know our president and CEO. This will be this portion of our conversation. This is a fireside chat with Dr. Chavis and Jarren Small. The topic being Black Press State of Emergency. The state of emergency response through hip-hop, education, and literacy. Let's give Dr. Chavis and Brother Jarren a round of applause. Please, Dr. Chavis.
What's up?
Welcome, man.
How you doing?
So listen, let's get right into it. Now, for the audience, this is unrehearsed. It's authentic. Neither of us have prepared any prior questions. When we decided to do this Fireside Chat, I said, look, man, let's just do it from the heart. Let's do it from the history. But I just want to say that the last panel, I think we should applaud the last panel again. It was such innovative.
Thank you.
You know, I move around the nation a lot, and one of the myths in America is that Black people, but particularly black youth, are not interested in learning. And so you have all of these programs designed basically to create a pipeline from the failure of the school system to the prison system. In New York and in New Jersey, they used the failure of the third grade reading test to determine how many juvenile prisons are going to be built.
Absolutely.
So this whole thing about literacy, I think Reading with a Rapper is a great program, and I just want to say, and I want to get ahead of my board of directors by making an announcement that they now have heard of, but I think that the NNPA, as a trade association of all of our papers, we need to embrace rapping and reading
100%
with a rapper. So I'm saying it right now. I know we're being live streamed, that the National Newspaper Public Association, we embrace what you're doing, and we're going to try to replicate it. What Brother Lee asked from Sacramento, we need to replicate it in all of our cities, in all of our publications. The most important future that we have is our young people, and we have to invest in it. And certainly, for this being the 196th year of the Black Press of America, we're getting ready to prepare for our bicentennial in 2027. If we could take 2023 over the next 4 or 5 years and really concentrate, we will have something to celebrate at the 200th anniversary of the Black Press, and that is the embrace, the engagement of our young people. You know, we all know that the youth today is the most talented, the most gifted. They're little geniuses. However, the system is against them. You know, there's racial profiling. There are all kinds of things that go on. We're the most expelled from school, male and female, because the school system is not properly curriculum or geared. So I'm just going to kick it with you, man. And I think the question was asked, this is the 50th year of hip-hop. So what can we do to kick it and have some relationship that really makes a difference for the Black press?
Absolutely. So a couple months back, I reached out to Dr. Chavis, and I remember I was like, hey, man, I had this idea. And on the last presentation, we saw that stat of how the U.S. is in debt $34.1 trillion, and adjacent to that, literacy is 2.2 per year. And so we had the idea of creating the Hip Hop for Literacy campaign. For the next 5 to 10 years, we want to focus on taking that deficit down from 54 to about 30%, 20%, which is a very optimistic, lofty goal, but we feel like we can really do that because if we change that, everything else literally changes. And we see that the industry is going to make an investment to this space. So I called up the Chavis like, hey, what do you look like where NNPA can partner with us to really recreate this and bring it back? I know you had the Hip Hop Summit. You like, this makes sense. So I think we're going to start there where, September. Right. September 8th, which is International Literacy Day, we'll be actually doing the first actual charity concert in Houston, Texas, where 100% of the proceeds will be going towards literacy grants to across the country in Houston.
What date is that?
September 8th. It's International Literacy Day. And so that concert would kick it off. Then from there, from October to May, we'll be doing the Reading and Rapper Literacy Grants. And then at the end of May, we'll be having our own festival for graduating high school seniors called Senior Fest. So it's like our version of South by Southwest. And then we're going to have a teacher conference for all the teachers around the country in Houston. So I know that we talked about you guys being a direct voice and being our official media partner for that to amplify across the country, because by way, if we're the only ones telling the story, everybody has to come to us.
We'll be there on September 8th, and the NNPA will be your media partner. And I'm going to help build up to it. Because, you know, the value of streaming, the value of doing stuff in the digital space is how it's promoted.
Right.
It's how it's marketed. So we have to prepare minds not only in Houston, but would the event be live streamed? Can people around the country get into it?
And the reason why we're keeping it in Houston, because, again, Houston's the only city that has an adult literacy program that the White House is actually looking at right now. So the goal is to replicate what we're doing in Houston across the country. So we don't want to just be in Houston.
Well, why do you think, how did that happen in Houston? It's not happening in other cities. We have other cities that have black mayors. So it's not just the fact that you have a black mayor. We need to figure out why our other cities don't have adult literacy programs.
That's true.
That are tied within the curriculum of the public school system.
I will say that I know that we have a lot of cities that have black mayors, but Mayor Turner in Houston, you don't see too many mayors intentionally trying to really like change and really be disruptive and really be, they're just doing what they need to do to get, you know, not saying that every mayor is doing that because there's a certain protocol you have to be within, but he's just done some really just unconventional things that long-term have gonna be really successful for the city after he leaves. So he just actually wanted to do it too. So I think it's about just being actually intentional about it, for sure.
And you have the results. I think, you
Absolutely.
know, having receipts,
right,
having data,
yes,
having
sir.
proof.
Yep.
We live in a world, and I want to say to our publishers, when Chelsea put that list up there, I have a national advertiser right now who asked me, Reverend Chavis, tell me all the publishers at NNPA that have a crossword puzzle or have a puzzle in their newspapers. So I had to give them an answer. And based on the answer, they made advertising decisions. I mean, based on, and you were saying, wow, why do they? Because they also know, people in the advertising world knows what attracts people, what engages people, beyond reading a column or reading a piece, but how do you keep people engaged? So having the list up there that you put was right on time also for advertising dollars, which I know all of our publishers are very concerned about.
I have a question for you. When you created the Hip Hop Summit, what was the original goal in mind when you did that?
Right, thank you. And I'm going to give my partner, Russell Simmons, credit. He was the founder, he's the godfather of hip hop. You know, he lives in Bali now. He doesn't live in the United States, and he's into yoga. And that's cool because people do need to take care of their health.
Absolutely.
And their consciousness. But it was in 2000 and 2001. Quite frankly, if I could just tell you a story, what led to the Hip Hop Summit Action Network, it goes back to what Mark said earlier. We had all the black leaders in 1994 at the NAACP. And one of the things we found out, there were not enough young people at that meeting. So we began early in the 90s advocating a place for hip hop, for young people, for artists, for creative genius at the table. And then, of course, we tragically lost Tupac. We tragically lost Biggie. And I know we're a live stream, so I'm going to say this. 2 weeks before Tupac was murdered, I was with him in the House of Blues in Los Angeles, up on the top floor. He was with Suge Knight, and had to go through security to get to him because I was trying to extract my brother.
Right.
You know, because it was, the handwriting was on the wall. You know, when you plant seeds of despair, plant seeds of not valuing the life of another person or another group, or because of geography, because I wear blue, I wear red, I wear some other kind of color, you know, that's a dangerous situation. And I think that if Tupac could be back today, he would be a strong advocate of reading with a rapper, because most people don't know, he started out as an artist.
Yep.
He was an actor and then became a rapper. What I was telling him, the reason I bring this up, I said, hey man, your father's in prison. When's the last time you've been to go see him? And he said, man, I know you're right. And I said, we're having this hip hop summit with Russell Simmons. We need you to come because we need to end this so-called East-West conflict. It's not healthy. So the reason why I bring this up is that we're a blessed people. But sometimes we allow others to go to the bank off of our blessings,
right,
cultural blessings, and we allow others to tamper and sometimes pit us against one another. So how have you been successful with reading with a rapper to get the rappers to work together? You mentioned Bun B. He was one of the also co-founders of the Hip Hop Summit.
Did not know that.
Yeah. He's been on, and I, again, I can call out a whole list of rap, male and female. Yep. MC Lyte was one of the first co-hosts of the Hip Hop Summit. So I've been involved with the hip hop from the very beginning, and because a lot of my colleagues in the civil rights movement, they were kind of player haters. you know.
Not player haters, man.
And people become player haters because they don't understand.
Right.
I mean, I got some player haters in the publishing community.
Ooh.
I mean, to be very honest, I mean, let's just be honest about it. But the thing is, we need to love and respect one another. We all have different gifts, different talents, you know, working together. So in reading with a rapper, how have you been able to build those bridges so the rappers don't see it as some competitive thing, but a collective working together for the greater good of the uplift of our communities?
I don't make it about them at all. And even with the program in itself, it's not even about us. It's simply about the kids. Are the kids learning how to read and write? That's the only focus that we talk about to the artists. And often a lot of the artists really want to go back and help. There's just never been an option for them to go do it. The industry, the record industry is not giving them, that's not sellable, right? It doesn't make money to go help the community. They're making more money by turning it down. So we have to figure out how can we go around them to get directly to who we want to talk to. So once we figured out through 2 Chainz in Atlanta, I say, man, let's go back to your old elementary school. So imagine going back to your school teaching kids how to read and write through your own music when the teacher probably told you when you were in school that you wouldn't amount to anything. So they can actually come back and they can say like, man, you are actually somebody. And we give them identity. We give them control over what they're saying too, because sometimes when artists are coming out through articles, it's a different POV and it's not from their mouth. So I want to give them a chance to say, what did you mean when you actually said this lyric versus what I thought you meant, right? Because sometimes we kind of assume they're talking about one thing, but really they may be talking about a whole complete other thing because the comprehension is low, so you don't really know. And then when we tell them the stat of 85% of the kids that's in the juvenile system are functionally illiterate. They can't read and write at a certain level.
Say that again.
85% of the kids that's in the juvenile system are functionally illiterate. So their comprehension level is so low, they can't make good decision-making skills. That's why they're going to the left and not to the right, because they just simply can't read. So once we figured that out, I approached Meek Mill, and I told the team, like, hey, man, he's getting out of prison. We're going to get Meek Mill. This is when we first started the community. It was like, this is impossible. This is impossible. When we sat down and talked to him, I said, hey, what if I told you you can teach kids how to read and write and stay out of prison through your music? He's like, sign me up. He didn't want any money. He stayed an extra day on his tour. We had Microsoft and Puma involved. We gave all the kids computers. We had the DA there. The mayor opened up City Hall on a Sunday to do this. We had Obama's Redirect Juvenile program for My Brother's Keeper. All the boys were on probation. And we showed the DA, the mayor, and 100 other people that we invited there, this is how you actually fix an issue versus putting a Band-Aid on something. You know, because we want to have real, sustainable, long-term change.
Defining the narrative, controlling the narrative, giving life to the narrative. Mainstream media is not going to cover this.
Nope.
You know, mainstream media covers our tragedies. And of course, we have to also, we can't ignore all of the devastating things that happen to us. But there's something missing. And that's where the black press
But I think they're preventable too, though.
Go ahead, talk to me.
We're not really interested in like trying to get the mainstream media to put eyes on us. We're more interested in creating our own media and being our own system for the next generation. And if they want to come and be a part of that, they can, because we own the culture.
There you go.
So it was really important for us to be like, do you want to be a part of what we're growing? If not, that's fine, because over time, we're going to, win for that. And I asked my grandpa during he was in the civil rights movement. I asked him, like, yo, what did we do wrong? I don't want to know what we did right, because they tell us the same story over and over and over and over. They show us the same 3 people over and over and over, but they're telling us progression, right? So he's like, we didn't have a long-term plan. But I understand, because we didn't have time to do that, because we're sacrificing and surviving every day. So Doug and I, we took all of our 20s to sacrifice and say, you know what? It doesn't matter about us going out, having friends, or losing, whatever case may be. What are we doing to set ourselves up for long-term success as a community for black people, but also black and brown people or people of color across the world? So for us now, we have our own multimedia. We have our own music label. We have our own curriculum. We have our own teachers. We have our own video team. We have what we need by ourselves. So we are real FUBU in real life. You know what I mean? So it was just big for us to say, you know what, if you're not going to help us, it's cool. We'll help ourselves, because we have all the gifts, talent embodied in us.
Man, that's a great story. You know, and nothing prevents us from replicating what you are learning, what you have learned already, and what you will learn. I think it's such positive things that we need to not only support, but also to amplify.
Yes, sir.
You know, I want to amplify the good. You know, I don't want to amplify the negative. And I think that Reading with a Rapper is on time, and certainly we want to do anything that we can to help. I do also want to just ask you a question about, you're from Houston.
Yes, sir.
And coming out of the H-Town, as you move around the country, are you seeing an openness to your approach of literacy in other major cities? What's the plan to expand?
So when we first started Reading a Rapper in Houston, we kind of did a tour just to show people what it looked like for free. So we did one for the council members and the mayor at City Hall. We did some for principals and students so they could just understand what it was. But coming into the city with, I guess, like the unofficial mayors of hip hop. So Bun is our ambassador for Houston, right? So when we think about Atlanta, you might think about a Killer Mike or a Big Boy. So when we go into these different cities, we understand the street politics of everything too. So we're tapping into the people that actually already have a real grasp of the community that they respect. Right. So of course, when we have that artist a part of what we're doing, they just naturally respect the program in itself because of the association of who we have. So we're very selective of who we have because it's not about how famous you really are. It's about how much do you actually care about what you're talking about now.
So look, I'm going to flip this.
Okay.
I'm going to let you ask the questions.
Okay.
I'm the OG, you the young G.
Yes, sir.
What
are some things that you think, from a youth standpoint, we can do to help sustain what you guys have created?
I believe that three things. One, I want your generation to know that my generation, we love you.
Yes, sir.
We respect you. And we want to also give you that freedom. I believe we should learn from our history, not necessarily repeat our history. We don't have to go back and repeat the past. This year, this August, is the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. Wow. And I'm getting texts and emails already. People want to commemorate. That's great. But if Dr. King will come back from 1963 to 2023, 60 years, I don't think he would make the same speech. I think it would be about the challenges to his dream. Because what he said in 63 in August wasn't just for black people. It was an American dream for all people. And we look at how the landscape is changing today. The Supreme Court ruling that affirmative action is unconstitutional. We still have these police departments who racial profile, who shoot first and ask questions later. So we still have a long ways to go, but I think that the last point in response to your question is that we need to exhibit engagement that's intergenerational. It's one thing for young people to go off and have a conference as young people. It's another thing for the elders to go off and have a conference as elders.
So what are we doing together?
We got to do something together. You know, I want to fight for freedom with my younger brothers and sisters.
Now, if we do something together,
come on with it.
Here's this other part I just have to ask.
Go ahead, man.
I'm generalizing this. Often, sometimes, when young people are coming to the older, seasoned crowd, the thing that you're passing down sometimes is not the thing that's going to accelerate us. It's trauma.
I got you.
Why are y'all passing trauma
That's right.
to us when we didn't even ask for that? You know, we're trying to come actually add on to what you're doing, but because of maybe what happened to you when you were our age, you never forgot that part, and that stays on you. So when somebody young comes, you think it's competition. I'm not your competitor. I'm your accelerant to help you stay there and to keep going. So why do you think that there's such disconnect between, or the friction between us?
Some of it is communication. When the teacher, Sister Grant, was going over the elements of how to communicate, I thought that the way that videotape ended, with that little 8-year-old sister said, I want to be a writer. You know, I was thinking how, well, our responsibility is to make sure that she not only has a place to write, but a place that will help her excel in her writing. James Baldwin was a close friend of mine, and
James Baldwin was your close friend? Wow.
Well,
okay.
Well, again, now but the thing is, what people don't understand, and your generation may appreciate, the movement wasn't as big as you may think. Everybody kind of knew everybody. You know, when we have a meeting, the huddle in L.A. or New York or Houston or Chicago or Detroit or St. Louis, anyone, or Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, or in the Carolinas, you'd be surprised. The room would not be full of people. And so how do you pass, you know, it's like I ran track, relay.
That baton.
And, yeah, it's just not only passing the baton, but it's the meaning of the baton, you know. And sometimes I think there may be a mispass. We may drop the baton before we adequately pass it off. Or something about having a plan to regenerate. All of us should have a succession plan. Now, unfortunately, a lot of OGs take the stuff to the grave with them.
Right.
Never share it. So I'm trying to spend my last years making sure I spend time with people like you, just sharing, because I don't want to give you the trauma. I want to give you the joy of overcoming the trauma. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
There's a certain joy, you know, that our movement needs to always exhibit. At the end of the day, what's our joy? Not just our pain. You know, it's how to overcome that pain. You know, I remember I was in Tampa when T-Pain first started, and I was teasing him about his name, T-Pain. I said, man, I want you to turn T-Pain into T-Joy. You know, no, seriously, because a lot of times if we focus only on what hurts us,
we stay hurt.
Hurt should never be the period on our sentence. It can be a comma, it can be a semicolon, but it can't be a period. When I see what you're doing with reading with a rapper, it gives me joy, brother. It makes us know that all of what we fought for all those years in the past was not in vain.
Wow.
Was not in vain.
I don't know what to say to that. Thank you, man. I mean, when I came to the conference in Puerto Rico,
yes.
My mind was just blown because I'm like, this is a true, real resource. I'm like, this is the black press. It didn't really click to me. I'm like, wait, they control media in America, and they're looking for somebody or looking for a group of people to kind of keep this going. Instead of us saying like, oh, they don't care about us. They really do, but I think sometimes the youth has to also say, you know what? We need to do a better job of just asking the right questions, being patient,
yes,
listening and gathering the right information from you so we can take it on,
exactly,
and not being so thinking we know everything, because we don't. And I guess it leads me to my question, or even the audience, do you believe in time travel?
Absolutely.
Okay, what is your concept on time travel? I have a concept, I just want to know what's
well,
your concept?
Listen, first of all, the whole concept of time, I hope you know that's an African concept.
Absolutely.
It's not a European concept. You know, Europeans are pointillier. That means, and I'm trying to cast anything on Europeans, but that's part of their culture. They're interested in what's happening at a certain point.
Right.
From an African perspective, we see what's happening over a period of time. Time is not linear. Time is 360. Time is expansive. And so that's why we are expanding. And that's why the black press is still alive today.
Absolutely.
You know, because we have to take sometimes limited resources, but having that zeal, having that drive, having that fortitude, having that, responsibility to the community. When we say we're the trusted voice of the black community, trust is something that's earned. It's not, you can't buy trust. You can't really sell trust.
Yep.
You can relate to it. And that's why it's such invaluable for the future of the black press, is to continue to be the trusted voice of the black community.
Okay, but still, do you believe in time travel?
Well, tell me what's your definition of time travel?
Okay, so this is how I think about time travel. When I speak to someone at your nature, right, I'm literally getting information from the past I could never get because you already lived a certain time period. Now, if I go talk to that kid, or I know you guys might have grandkids, nieces and nephews, and you maybe ask them a question, you'll be like, man, I never thought about that, because their mind is so to the other place. You're literally talking to the future in real time. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we're in the present of where we can create from the left and the right. So I see like the youth as this medium of like, we're the hybrids of like, okay, I have a certain time period right now. Let me gather information from you, but also let me gather information from the youth to where we can create a reading with a rapper. That's why it's so different and so innovative, because all we did was just simply ask us, what do we need to be successful?
You know, one of the things that we're all focusing on in our community is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Something from the science world, something called catalyst.
Catalyst.
Rapping and reading with a rapper, that's a catalyst. You're taking what is, but you're accelerating it forward, because you're giving what is opportunities that would not be there if it weren't for you. And that's why I think we should all invest in reading with a rapper.
I love that word, invest.
You know,
love it.
Yeah, well, hey, that's, you know, listen, all good ideas have to have good financial. There are a whole lot of great ideas, but they don't take off because they have financial undergirding, financial investment. And all the publishers will tell you, they're business people. Right. You got to keep a business going, got to keep a business alive. And so we have to find a way how to generate revenue that supports the great ideas that we have, the great programs and opportunities. But if you got to have that revenue.
Yep. And
I see Mark, we over time?
Oh, we're done.
Okay.
Okay,
all right.
We wrapped up. Thank you. Can I just say one last thank you to
you?
you?
Go ahead.
So yesterday, we were at the museum for the reception kickoff.
Yes.
And our entire family and our team from Reading Rapper, we were just so blown away because all the history that we were seeing in there. And I just thought it was so crazy where at a certain point in time, it was literally against the law for us to read and write. HBCU, especially Prairie View, sits on the biggest slave plantation in Texas, the Kirby Plantation, and how we use music to kind of like give information and
absolutely.
talk. And I feel like we're at this very same point again now where they're trying to take certain things away from critical race theory and try to take that same power away from us. And now we're fighting the same thing, but in a more innovative way. So one, thank you and thank the entire organization for allowing us to even be here to see this and witness this, to even meet y'all, because it's so important. And we want to be a part of the change. And we just really appreciate you and the entire organization for this opportunity, because this is going to be the start of something for the next 20, 30, 50 years.
Well, we thank you. It's mutual, brother.
Absolutely.
All right. God bless.
Jarren Small, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. What a fruitful conversation. And we know as an African people, the youth and elders must dialogue. Amen?
Very good.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. As always, perform an act of kindness on behalf of an elder or young person. Write a letter to a sister or brother who just so happens to find her or himself incarcerated. Offer libations to the ancestors upon whose sturdy shoulders we all now stand. And above all, give thanks to the God of your understanding by whatever name you call her and him. All God asks of us is that we give each other love. Thanks for giving MIP love. And please remember to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.